Me and the boys was sitting around drinking, we was talking about things that we was thinking, when all of a sudden what comes out of Bill's mouth? Said I'm getting old and fat and slow, and I don't recover like I did before from nights of rabble, rousing and too much fun. Well, I looked around and we all agreed, and I had a drink and I ordered 3, and I staggered back to do it all again. Then we made an oath on a rum and coke with the best intention, I'm sure you know, that we would stop this living in excess. We're gonna have one more party, one more special occasion. Do it Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, holidays and weekends. We can have one more party. There's more hell we should be raising. One more party now, one more.
Good? Alright, on today's episode of Garage Beers, what I'm going to go over is operating equipment in the winter months. This is going to be more of a rant than anything else, but this is one way that you can make sure. Nothing pisses me off more than guys that abuse your equipment. When if you have a hint of patience, literally like 30 seconds, you'll put years of life onto your stuff. So the first thing I'm going to start off with is our Kubota. I've got our oldest right now filming because he's going to be the next YouTube sensation. One of us needs to be really on. So the first thing, if you're going to be using something and it's cold, like literally -10 kind of thing, you want to start taking care. I personally don't even plug in my vehicles or anything till it's about -20 or colder, so I'm not going to bother plugging in. With this tractor though, or with anything that has a block heater, if you're going to use it and it's going to end up being colder than -20, then plug it in. It doesn't need to be plugged in overnight. 2 hours of having something plugged in is literally the max benefit. So if you have it plugged in all night versus 2 hours, the 2 hours is going to give you the same kind of thing. So if I'm going to shovel, like say we get a whole bunch of snow come, we have some snow, but not enough to actually warrant using the tractor. But if there was, 2 hours before I start, I'm going to plug it in. Or if I know it's going to, if it's say the night before and I'm going to be shoveling in the morning, I'll put it on a timer, or I'll make sure I adjust accordingly. So it has 2 hours to warm up. Next thing on this, especially because it's a diesel, it has glow plugs. So make sure you use them, you cycle them a couple times. For this one in particular, I control how long they're on. I usually let them go for about 5-10 seconds, depending on what it is. The other thing is how long you're gonna run your starter. Especially people with old diesels, these just crank and crank and crank. I was in the Army, we used to do that to our trucks all the time. It just fries everything. So never run your starter for more than 15 seconds at a time. Give it about a minute or so in between so you don't burn that guy out. Because if you think it sucks and your vehicle won't start, imagine how much it's going to suck when you don't. So if I try to start it right away, nothing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just engage the glow plugs. I know it's super painful. A lot of people's like, screw it and just start going anyways. And you know what? If I went long enough, it would start, but you're causing incredible amounts of damage. Now that's running. Any vehicle you start in the winter, let it run for a minimum of 30 seconds before you move it, you idle it up, or do anything. It gives enough time for the oil to get to all the parts. As you can see, after about 30 seconds, she's going to stop blowing black smoke. To run a little smoother. Now for diesels, you can literally idle them all day, but if you don't idle them up and they're not under any load, you're not going to generate any heat. You're literally burning gas for the sake of burning gas. So as soon as it's warmed up that bit, I will idle it up to about, like now that's this one in particular, I'll go to about 1200 RPM and let it do that. Runs a lot smoother, all that other stuff. If you just kind of let it chug, that vibration will kill, like it'll just rattle everything. The motor, the whole tractor. You'll notice it'll shake like hell. You don't want that. That's what's going to cause a lot of your damage. As well, again, it's not warming up, it's not circulating the oil well enough. As soon as, oil's kind of touched all the main things, I'm going to put it to 1200 RPM. Now for this guy, as soon as I start, I'll let it run all day. How long I'll let it run before I start using it? Probably a couple minutes. I'm not going to let it idle for 5 minutes because it's really just wasting fuel. Because of the hydraulics and the transmission, all that, everything I do, I'm going to be doing slow. Whenever you use any vehicle in the winter, don't just hammer on the gas and take off. You're going to definitely wreck something. So here, we'll let it go for a little bit before I start using it. When I'm using the hydraulics, I'm going to go nice and slow. I'm not going to do any heavy loads because you're going to have, with that fluid being so thick and viscous, you're going to end up blowing lines all over this place. You know, go watch YouTube, go see memes. You guys see guys with their skid steers, and it'll just blow hydraulic fluid and it'll literally look like it's just bleeding out in their yard, in their shop or in their yard. So don't do that. On. Good. All right. So the next thing is use a quad. For the size of our acreage, we don't have a large tractor. It's got the little Kubota, but this thing right here, our quad is probably our biggest workhorse that we use. It's old. It's like an 04 kind of thing, or 07. So she's got a few years on her, and she's really starting to show. To take care of it, usually as soon as the winter comes, I'll do 2 big services on it. Once at the beginning of the winter and once at the end of the winter. I'll change all the fluids because, especially pushing snow, it's really hard on these little guys. This one's an 800. I kind of like the 500s because they're a lot lighter. This one has more power, but when you get stuck, it sucks to lift this one out. But for moving snow, this guy is great. Same thing, what I do for all my vehicles, winter, summer, any kind of thing, let them run for a minimum of 30 seconds. This one's inside. Garage isn't normally kept heated. If you have, keep it in, but that's not really an option. To be honest, this guy usually sleeps outside, but she's getting a little worse for wear, so we've taken better care of it. Start it up, let it run for about 30 seconds. Because again, same kind of thing. These guys are just small engines, even if they are 2-cylinder, whatever. They need time to literally warm up. As soon as that happens, then I can start using it. I'll have the blade on the front for moving snow, and then, you know, whenever I am moving snow, a lot of people still keep it in high gear. I'll switch it to low. It'll put a lot less stress on everything else. And then especially if I'm pushing snow, I'll use it into low. And then if I'm going back to the start to move, I'll put it back in high for those higher RPMs. Things to definitely note: keep an eye on your temperature gauge because you're going to be putting it under a lot of strain. Not a lot of airflow is going to be going through. So I've definitely had it overheat a few times on us. Oh, guess he doesn't know that I'm parking in the garage. So, you know, use low when you can, and then high for like whatever the situation dictates. Any sort of major low, especially pushing snow, use low. The other thing I'm gonna definitely stress is, definitely check all your fluids, make sure all that stuff is good to go. And then, you know, when you are going, don't give it full throttle right off the hop. Let it warm up. Keep an eye on the temperature because it gets really hot really fast. You're definitely putting it under a lot of load. And that's pretty much it. Same thing for the summer. You know, start the quad up, let it run for about those 30 seconds, and then take off. When the belts on these things go, you get no warning. You might hear a little bit. When the last time the belt on this guy blew, I heard it slapping around, and and about 30 seconds later, it just dynamited. Usually leaves a big mess. The cover that's covering the belt, I was lucky mine didn't really explode, but a lot of times when the belt snaps, everything will go. So do that. For actual maintenance of the belt, go with name brand. If you get a cheaper one, they're going to snap a lot faster. It kind of pains me. I actually get Polaris belts for this, but you know, since I've changed this one about like 6 years ago, closer to 8, I haven't had any issues. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. In the wintertime, give things a little bit more time to warm up. Take care of them. Those cold starts take years off. And unless you have enough money to just, as soon as you wear it out, get a new one. I'm not in that situation, so take care of it, and it'll last forever. That's all I got. Till the next episode. Bye.